I'm Elizabeth Losh for FemTechNet, and my keyword is girl. And when I use the word girl, I'm not necessarily talking about the word girl the way it's sometimes used now, like riot girl. I'm talking about the word girl as it was used in the dawn of the information age. So I'm interested in how people talked about girls in connection with computers in the 1940s and 1950s. And specifically, I'm interested in the fact that people talked about girls often when they were talking about how technology was going to transform our knowledge systems, or how technology functions in terms of, how girls are a kind of metaphor for how we can think about theories of information. So in particular, I'm interested in the ways that Vannevar Bush talks about girls. So he has a famous essay called As We May Think, where he talks about this device called the Memex, which is an imaginary device that's supposedly like a modern computer. And one of the things that's supposed to be great about this modern computer is you use longhand or voice activation in order to be able to communicate with this computer rather than a keyboard. Because a keyboard, of course, is something that that women would use, and this was going to be a device that men could use. So if you were an executive or a military officer, right? J.C.R. Licklider said, you can't teach these guys to type. You're going to need some other kinds of human-computer interaction to make this possible. So Bush is talking about this device and suddenly starts talking about the fact that there are these girls who operate these vocoder devices, and how you see them sort of languidly stroking the keys and sort of looking at everyone with a disquieting gaze. So this idea that these girls are kind of messing up the sort of composure of the modern workplace. And yet on the other hand, you have somebody like Warren Weaver in the introduction to Claude Shannon's Mathematical Theory of Communication, and he talks about girls in a very different way. He says, imagine a very discreet and proper girl. And he says this girl who's like reading telegrams is a way to think about information and the way that information functions in electronic systems, and the ways that information can travel so that you don't necessarily know what's in a message to transfer it. So the reason this is interesting to me is actually a lot of women were really important in the dawn of computing. And if you look at what a computer was, it wasn't a device, it was a person. And in fact, you can see this picture from 1954 that shows computers at JPL. And there's an African-American woman, there's a pregnant woman. There are all these women who were actually the ones who knew how to use the technology. And often if you look at photographs from the beginning of the computing era, you see that there'll be many women in the frame and then a few men, and clearly the women are the ones who actually know how to use the technology, and the men are sort of the kind of window dressing in these photo ops. So I encourage you to make videos back to this video, and I might suggest that you also use the keyword computer and think about how a computer can be a person, not just a device.